Hi, this is Mary Boukouvalas from What's My Scene magazine, and we're here today for Star Scene with the one and only Josh Pyke. Hey Josh, how you going?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's been 5 years between albums, and I haven't toured for almost 4 years now. So I mean, it sounds crazy now that I say that, but yeah, it was basically, you know, after 10, 12 years of just solidly releasing records and touring, I just kind of hit a wall, and I had some pretty significant anxiety issues at the time. And yeah, just the continual touring just wasn't, it's not a space that's super conducive to getting that kind of stuff under control. So it was time to take a break, and I wanted to pursue other interests as well, like writing kids books and producing other artists and doing music for film and TV and stuff like that. So it was kind of a opportunity, half opportunity, half kind of like getting out of the scene to kind of get my head right for a while.
Well, before we talk about the album, we can talk a little bit about your books. I can't believe it, those children's books. They're so fantastic. And also the ones you're about to release with Justine Clark as well.
Oh, so yeah, no, the Justin Clark one came out last year. That was called Banana is a Banana. And that was
Okay,
based
you're
on a
not doing
song
another
that
one with
we,
her now?
sorry?
Are you doing another one with her now? I think I read it somewhere.
No, not that I know of, but
Well,
it'd be
there you
great if
go.
I
I'm
was.
putting
But
it out there.
no, I did. So I did my first, I've actually got it here because I'm doing this thing later. But the first one that I did was this one, Lights Out Leonard. And then I did Banana is a Banana with Justine. And then I've got another one coming out in November and a few more coming out next year. So it's something I'm focusing, very seriously on. I love that creative element of it. It's a lot like songwriting. You have to be very succinct and economic with your words, but still get the meaning, convey the meaning across, and not patronize the kids as well. So yeah, I really enjoy it.
Rome. It feels like it was written in this time, yet there's still that hopefulness when you listen to that music, which is a good idea. It's great to hear.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I didn't write any of these songs in any way in response to these times. Obviously, I wrote them, at least a year before all this stuff happened. But it does seem like there's a lot of pertinent things in there thematically that do seem to apply to this period in the history of the world, which is, I think that, I mean, I don't take credit for that. I think that's just the beauty of art, is that people can interpret things in a way that makes them make sense to their personal circumstances. So, a song like "You're My Color" is a love song about my kids, but I love the fact that people can relate to that song because it's just about love. So yeah, I'd very grateful that art is still a thing that people are taking comfort in during these times. I like having themes in my songs which are universal, so that whilst I know exactly what they're about, it doesn't have to be about that for other people when they're listening to it. That's, all my favorite songs, are my favorite songs because they mean something to me as opposed to what the artist actually meant them to be.
Yeah. Well, Doubting Thomas is definitely my favorite so far.
Oh, thank you.
I love the video clip as well with the ghost and the mentioning of the ghost within the lyrics. What was your meaning behind this? Because
The idea behind that song is sort of, facing up to a situation and acknowledging that you need to move past it and not have these remnants of situations in your life anymore, like these things that are haunting you, like a manifestation of the past. As a ghost is the metaphor, and just sort of knowing that if you can't move on from them, you need to face them right there and look them in the eye, and which is, that's a lot of the themes on Rome, is about facing up to situations that you can't escape, and acceptance, really. The idea of, all roads lead to Rome, and I get, in this instance, Rome is a metaphor for yourself. So, no matter what we do, we do lots of things in our lives to try and kind of avoid confrontation or avoid problems. But at the end of the day, one way or another, they come circling back to you, and it manifests itself in all different ways. For me, it was like, anxiety. For other people, it's lots of things: addiction, bad habits, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you can't escape these things. You do at some point have to face them and look them in the eye and accept them, or move on, or fight them, or whatever it is you need to do. But it's going to come back at you at some point.
You do so much for the community as well. Where do you find the time, the inspiration? Where do you find, basically resilience in yourself? Because as you said, at times you're fighting anxiety yourself. So how do you find you can persevere and come back from that and help others?
That's a good question. I mean, I've definitely, to be totally honest, I've definitely struggled with that this year in particular. It's a challenge for everybody with COVID, and I'm included in that. For me, it's just a matter of, I always say this to my kids, like, you don't walk past a problem, it's like, and it can be as simple as like, you don't walk past a dishwasher that needs to be unloaded, or a load of washing that needs to go in the washing machine, or the plates that need to go. I always say to them, like, you don't walk past a problem. And so I kind of take that into the rest of my life. And, the Indigenous Literacy Foundation that I've been an ambassador for over 10 years, I just passionately believe in trying to bridge the gap and with Indigenous Australians and the rest of us. I believe and acknowledge the, historic shit that we've put them through, and I don't want to be part of the problem. I don't want to walk past the problem. So I was in a position where I knew people that were involved in the ILF, and I knew that I could do stuff by raising awareness or raising money. So I just felt like I couldn't walk past the problem. And it was the same with the JP partnership. I could see the funding landscape in Australia was criminally low. I think the government, they're doing stuff now, but it's coming from a very low baseline in terms of arts and culture funding in this country. So I just couldn't walk past the problem. And I was at a point in my career where I knew that I could offer mentorship, and I knew that, and it is a big job. I got to say, like, I judge it myself. There's over 200 entries every year, and I judge it 100% by myself. And some years I kind of go, oh my God, I just don't know if I have the energy to do this. But I know that it generates goodwill in the industry, and these people have these opportunities, and it's helping perpetuate art and culture in this country, which I want to contribute to. I don't know. I just can't walk past problems, really, which is probably a problem in itself.
Well, I thank you for not pretending you don't see the dishwasher or the problem. And you've even done this, fans first thing that's coming up with concerts. I am so unlucky to be in Melbourne, but that's a great idea.
The fans first thing was, I've been doing that since album one. I've always realized that you're only as good as your last record. So you kind of, even when you're an established artist, you're always starting from scratch, really. People move on from artists all the time, and I really realized early on that you're only as strong as your core fan base, and so you really need to engage with that core fan base as much as you can in a meaningful way. And so every time I do an album, I like to go out and do small, intimate venues for that core fan base. And it's completely broken my heart that I haven't been able to do that this time. I've tried to engage in different ways with streaming stuff and chats with mates, stuff like that. But it's there's no replacement for live performance. So yeah, fingers crossed we can get back out there soon. But it's a massive challenge. All the borders are closed at the moment, so I don't know how that's going to work at all.
well, that panel you were involved with Q&A, that was brilliant. And you brought a lot of issues up, and you highlighted a lot of things that many people didn't know, especially about the artist's contribution, not only monetary, but also with helping people get through life. I mean, I couldn't imagine a world without music. And that was 4 months ago. From the points you made there about what the industry needed, can you see that support has come, our way, or do you still think something?
Yeah, it has come. I mean, we've had support, and I don't really know what the best answer would be, but the bottom line is, JobKeeper has helped a lot of people. It's also a lot of artists and, contract workers have fallen between the cracks. So it hasn't helped everybody. There has been arts funding, but it's come from an extremely low baseline. So it's not enough. There is a sort of, lack of acknowledgement of the value of arts and culture in this country, I feel, still, even during this time. And, there's just a few things that just seem out of whack, like, the government giving Foxtel, a massive multimedia company, a shitload of money, and not sort of matching that to the music industry. I mean, we contribute, like the cultural industry contributes $15 billion to the GDP every year. And what we're asking to get us through this period is a tiny fraction of that. So it's a good bet, it's a good bet for the government to support us. And I think they're doing something, but it's not, I don't think it's enough. But it's hard because it always just sounds like, whinging artists, but it's, we're small business people. We create a hell of a lot of jobs when we're able to. We pay a lot of tax, we stand at our own 2 feet and have done for centuries, and it's, it's time that whenever there's a crisis, we put our hands up to help, and now we are the crisis. So yeah, it's a tough one. Well, I mean, it's entertainment and inspiration, and even me as a consumer of music and art and culture have found a lot of comfort in content during this period. But in order to continue to create that content, we need help.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to go back to your new album, and also the video that you've released with Don't Let It Wait. That is so beautiful. Did you come up with those ideas?
Not that one, no. So I work with a couple called the Mountain Folks Films that I've worked with for years. They've done all the visuals and the artwork and everything from this record. And we were in a situation where we needed to turn a film clip around really quickly, and we couldn't meet up at that point. And so Dimity, one of the team's Nana, is 91.
So beautiful.
And they're like, yeah, she's a legend. So they just went around and filmed her. They played the track and let her sort of just do whatever came naturally. And that's what came out. And I really wanted it to be kind of, celebratory. So the message of the song is to not let these moments pass. And at first, when the film clip starts, you think, oh dear, is this going to be a song about, somebody being dead or something like that? And then you see this wonderful woman embracing life and embracing creativity and dancing. And so, yeah, I think it's a nice visual metaphor for the song.
Definitely, it's beautiful. And you've got a few interesting bundles coming out with your album. I'll first talk about the book with the lyrics. Like, how fantastic. I love lyrics, so the fact that I've got them there to read is just beautiful. But then I can have a glass of wine as well.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I think, for me, the thing was, recognizing that people consume music very differently now. And the physical copy is still a thing for people, but most people listen on streaming services. I certainly do. But I still like the idea of having some kind of tactile thing that people can interact with the album for. So I like the idea of having a glass of wine and reading the book while you lie back and listen to the the record on whatever streaming service you want to listen on. And you know, in terms of the book, I just love the idea of a cloth-bound book. You know, it's got gold debossed lettering on the front.
Yeah.
I'm a real sucker for that
Old
kind
school.
of those kind of little notepads. So yeah.
What is your sound in food form?
My sound in food form. Oh, that's a very difficult question. I don't know. Maybe something that seems like accessible, but is actually has a lot of depth to it. That's what I would hope it would be. So maybe something like Korean food, which seems like quite simple. It's like lots of bits, you know, but then you mix it all together and suddenly you have these really subtle and complex things going on.
Beautiful.
I
And
don't know. I just came up with
I
that
love
then.
it. I love it. And don't forget the glass of wine. What's the palate on that?
Well, I'm more of a whiskey man, so I think it's like a an Islay whiskey, which is, you know, has a bit of smokiness and peat to it, but it's not like a full on it's not a full on peaty whiskey, but it's got the back palate of the smoke there.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And lastly, what is your scene?
My scene, well, you know, funnily, I mean, as much as I'm sort of more an acoustic, you know, acoustic kind of artist, I'd say my scene is still indie rock. Like I still love going out and seeing indie rock bands doing a thing. The last bands that I saw, you know, that I was able to see was bands like Alex Cameron and Jack Ladder over in the States when I was over there, and bands like Car Seat Headrest and Sandy, Alex G as he's known, these American artists that I saw in Sydney. And it's just kind of classic indie rock, kind of like Pavement or or early Shins and stuff like that. That's still my kind of favorite music.
What did you grow up with? What did you grow up
Well,
listening
I was very much a grunge, you know, I was a metal kid, then into grunge, and then into indie. So I was like, you know, you classic guitar rock kind of transition. And then I came into the sort of, you know, folk and more acoustic music much later when I got into Elliott Smith.